Here. Okay, terrific, Mr. President. Thank you very much. It is a great pleasure to be with you all here today. Folks, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to introduce Mr. Sidney Mobell. And as you guys know, it is his 91st birthday on the 10th. And we are tremendously thrilled to have Sidney on as a member of our club. Sidney is honored in the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History. He has a program that's called Everyday Fantasies, the Jeweled Art of Sidney Mobell. Sidney is known as the creator of the $2 million Monopoly board made out of gold and jewels and diamonds. Is a thing of beauty. It is a true work of art. That's why it's in the Smithsonian. And it's in the Smithsonian, the area in the Smithsonian where it's located is the Harry Winston wing of the Smithsonian, which is tremendous, where all the natural jewels are. And Sidney Mobell is a natural jewel in San Francisco. Even though he was not born in San Francisco, he was born in Denver, Colorado. Here, I consider him as through and through a San Francisco as I can think of. He's a true San Francisco icon, but he's actually bigger than that. He is an icon throughout the world. If you go to his office and read his approach, it's amazing. I just want to say thank you, Sidney Mobell, for being a club. And I got a couple questions for you, Sidney, here, if I could, here regarding your life. Sid was born in 1927. 1927. That was before our very own Golden Gate Bridge was around. Are you there, Sid? Sid was featured. By the way, everybody knows Sid's jewelry story, but folks don't know that Sid was actually a World War II veteran, and he joined the Navy in World War II, and he served aboard the USS Commencement Bay. And he likes to tell a story about an admiral that he met many years after that. And the admiral was talking about his rank in the military, and he was very impressed with Sidney. And Sidney said, well, you were an admiral and I was a swab jockey. and that always got a good laugh. Sid's a very humble man, considering all the wonderful things that he's done in his life. And Sid, hop on anytime here because we'd love to be able to just celebrate you, just say hello with you. But Sidney also is a supporter of the Guide Dogs for the Blind. He has helped people throughout the world with his jewelry and offered folks support and help through creative philanthropy and fundraising. He has a beautiful family that lives up in Rockland, California. I got to spend the weekend with them. He's great friends with Willie Brown, with Frank Sinatra, with Sammy Davis Jr., with James Brown. There was a very interesting incident with James Brown that happened while Sidney had his shop on Post Street. Apparently somebody was asking Sidney for perhaps a phone call or some bail. I'm not going to say who that is, but you might be able to put two and two together. Sidney was robbed at gunpoint at his Sidney Mobell Fine Jewelry store downtown. And instead of simply doing what he should have done, which is simply to do as the armed robber said, Sidney went right up to the guy's face and said, "What's your problem?" Right? An armed robber. So Sidney was swiftly put in a polite way into a closet in the back of Sidney Mobell Fine Jewelry with some of the other employees. What he found out later is that same person killed somebody the day before. So Sidney really is, not only does he have the Midas touch, but he has 9 lives, apparently 95, and hopefully 95 more. Sidney, we love you so much. Are you going to be able to be on this call so we can celebrate you? This in the business is what we call stretching it out, folks. This is what we call stretching it out.
Just shake your head, Sid.
Shake your head, wave, say something.
We love you, Sid.
We love you, Sid. Happy birthday here. We love you from the bottom of our heart. We're so glad that you're in our lives here. And thank you for being a member of the Golden Gate Breakfast Club, a San Francisco icon, and somebody who is beloved throughout the world.
All right. Thank you.
And I'll hand it over back to you, Mr. President.
Thanks, Antonio. And that was wonderful. At this time, I would like Jim Prost to come on and he's got a special segment of the program he's going to be hosting. Jim? Now you remember, you have to unmute yourself, Jim.
Am I unmuted now? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Would all of the Breakfast Clubbers who have hats, please put them on? This would be the time. It's hard to see. This is in honor of Ms. Fripp. And just 1 second here. Let me get this set up.
Hey, Jim, we have to sing the happy birthday song too.
Okay. Do you want to lead that?
Reg, would you like to chime in? And you guys have to unmute for this part.
Happy
birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday,
Patricia and Sidney.
Great.
That was amazing. And thank you, Betty. All right, Jim, go ahead and take over.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Can you see the whole screen?
You're good.
Okay. Here we go.
all you folks out there in streaming land, what can possibly be said about my sister Patricia Fripp?
All right, that was brilliant. We get 2 birthday songs in.
2 for the price of 1.
All right. So Jim, who do we have that? Wait, who do we have coming up? Okay.
Okay, I'm going to jump in here, and
Absolutely, please do.
I would like Aunt Patricia to know Jim Prost worked hours and hours and hours to create that special program, which he promised me that he will do for no one else ever again. But kudos to Jim for all the work and that collection of fabulous pictures.
Thank you. Of course, I had an inspiration. Miss Fripp is very inspiring.
Maybe we should put it in the Smithsonian.
Yeah, we have all sorts. We've got our hats, and we have all sorts of guests coming in from all over the place. And so, if you go to your tile view, you can see these wonderful faces, and we have some new people. And Patricia, why don't you unmute yourself and introduce us to some of the new people that are here.
Well, Craig Harrison, of course, we know very, very well. And let me see who else. I see a lot of our past speakers. Marilyn Sherman is popped in from Las Vegas. We have Elaine Lung. Wow, Dan Maddox, my best client in the entire world, who first hired me in 1987. Claudette, of course, I'm glad she could jump in. Michael Haig, who you know was one of our very popular speakers. Dr. Candy Campbell, who is speaking to us again very soon. And Linda Shively, one of our popular speakers. And of course, Craig, now I know why he's here. Susan Rowan and I will be getting together on my birthday in Marin outside with friends. Dan Maddox is in from New York. Wow. And Derek Arden, who of course is our regular member now all the way from England. Well, I appreciate all the fancy hats. How you managed to get this over on me, I do not know. Anyway, it's wonderful to see you all. Thank you very much indeed. Last year, Marilyn Sherman, for 75, organized an incredible, who would have thought a Zoom party could be better than a real party, because you could have people from all over. So thank you very much indeed. And I appreciate everyone putting their hats on. And there's Gary Purice, yay, great, who will be speaking for us again soon.
Wow. What a great group.
Robert Fripp, is my brother really there?
Robert?
There
No,
he is.
it's only someone that looks like him.
Okay, all right. Brother is very famous when people say, "Are you Robert Fripp?" to answer, "No, I only look like him." So that is an inside joke. And
Well,
brother, I don't know if you can see on my screen, your two screens over, Haig Harris was one of my hairstyling clients. And when parents were visiting, we went to his office and had tea. So
wow.
He is the only person in here apart from you and me who have been in the same room with our parents.
Wow, that's very impressive. Look, I'm very, very grateful to be invited here to make a small contribution to wishing my sister well for her birthday, acknowledging that for all
that's great.
of my breathing life, my sister has protected me from the world, because I'm the sensitive one in the family. My sister, as you may know, is a little more brutal in dealing with the world. What I don't know how many of you are aware of our mother, Saint Edith of the Valleys, who knitted this. This is one of Edie's knitteds. Our mother had no sense of direction whatsoever. She's known in the family as having opened the M4 motorway in 1970, huge motorway opening from London to Bristol, 1 week ahead of its formal opening by the Government and Highways Commission. She was stopped by one of the highway maintenance people and said, "What are you doing?" She said, "Well, I'm driving from here to there." He said, "The motorway isn't open until next week." Now, the point of this is to raise the question before all of us, whether genetics and the properties of inheritance or natural disposition take precedence. And for this, a small story. On one of the many occasions I will visit my dear sister in San Francisco to play, my sister would take me at, excuse me 1 minute, an important thing, I will be back.
I guess we'll take that as a cue. He's going to be back.
He is going to be back. But what I would like to say is my brother and his wife, who are both in their own rights internet sensations, at the beginning of the pandemic, started a series just to cheer up their fans called Robert and Toyah Lockdown Lunch, which they have continued. If you go to YouTube at some point and put Robert and Toyah Sunday Lunch, some of their 2-minute videos get as many as 5 million hits. Brother, I was just telling them about your and Toyah's Lockdown Lunch. So now
Yes.
you're back, I will shut up.
Well, since lockdown now for 13 months, most of our professional lives have moved online. And this morning, my sister was recording remotely a series of commentaries for Channel 5 documentaries on various videos. So dealing with that and back. Now, I know how excited you've been getting in anticipation of the story I was about to tell. The degree of genetic inheritance or natural disposition towards having no idea where you're going, or even if you have some idea of where you're going, sheer incapacity to follow that instinct. So on one of the many occasions when I was visiting dear sister Patricia in San Francisco, and sister would take me out for fun in the area, we would go over to Emeryville, where they had a multi-screen complex in the days when this was exciting. So the next step was to go from Emeryville to Berkeley. A short distance. How many miles would you say, sister, from Emeryville to Berkeley? I'm sorry, I shouldn't ask my sister. It's not too far. So we got in sister's car with sister driving, and I looked out and I saw water beneath me. And I thought, no, the journey from Emeryville to Berkeley is actually land-based. But no, I looked down and there was a lot of water and the water kept going. And then we stopped at Yerba Buena Island. And I didn't remember that being on the way to Berkeley, but we kept going a little further. And then I saw, look, there were the skyscrapers of the financial district of San Francisco. And then we turned around and went back to Berkeley. So look, there we are. Dear sister, bless you. I love you. Thank you for protecting me throughout my life.
Thank you, brother. And you just made another Fripp. You talked about your wife and you said my sister.
There are 3 women in my life: my mother, my sister, and my wife. And I confuse all of them. I'm sure that's profoundly unhealthy, but nevertheless, my wife is used to it, my sister is used to it, and mother we can't consult on at the moment.
Thank you, brother.
Wow. Thank you, Robert. Okay. Now we have a few other prepared, we're honoring Patricia's 76th birthday. And so you have 76 seconds to tell your story. So I see Craig Harrison's hand up. So Craig, why don't you go ahead and start with your story, and then we can move on to the next.
Thank you, Craig. And after this, I'm off to get my second COVID shot. But in celebration of you, Patricia, before this gets canceled too for Dr. Seuss, today you are you. That is truer than true. There is no one alive who is youer than you. Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind, of course. Now, today is your day. Your mountain is waiting. So get on your way. That's what I'm saying. In Golden Gate Breakfast Club and NSA, we've been known to brag. We've been known to boast. But of all the folks we've met, we love you, Fripp, the most. A speaker for all seasons, reasons, and media, I say. You even tell stories in medias res. Through speech, you touch and teach, coach and reach others. Your spoken words make beautiful music, much like Baby Brother. One Fripp, two Fripp, a king, crimson, and queen. You're always visually stunning, wherever you're seen. So hats off to you, but then put them back on. Happy birthday from all your admirers. And of course, in all of NSA, you are our #1 inspirer. Thank you so much, Fripp, and let's keep it going at least till the 18th, until the end of the month. I'm out, but no mic drop. Thank you, Craig.
Thanks, Craig. That's lovely.
That was great. Was that under 76 seconds? Good job. I like the poem a lot, and I love the hat. It should be, it's your new style, isn't it? Okay. And then who else do we have? We have somebody else with the, I know we have other people interested in showing it. I'm looking at the tile view here. So if you can put your hand up, that would be helpful. Okay, I don't see any hands up. Joel Panzer. You have to unmute, Joel.
I'd just like to say happy birthday to Patricia. I am so proud to have been her sponsor for this organization so many years ago. And I have to say, she made my whole life. When a couple of years before I invited her in, she saw me at an event and she came over to me. I was wearing a hat. I had just started wearing hats, and she changed my whole life. And she simply gave me the confidence to go on as my hair was going, and said, if you wear a hat, people will never forget you. And by goodness, she was right, because I wore hats after that and became known in San Francisco as the property manager with a hat. So to Patricia Fripp, I love you. Thank you very much for everything. And I'm so glad you came into our club. I knew that you were the first lady, and we'd need somebody who had those things of steel, and you do.
All right, thanks, Joel. Yeah, when I met you, you were wearing the fedora, so you were known as the guy with the fedora.
I'll still have it, and I'll go get it later.
Okay, all right. Candy Campbell, you're up next.
Okay, hi everybody. You know, I was told that we were going to tell stories about Patricia and her influence in our life. So my story is, I don't even know if she remembers this, but the first time that we met was actually at a David Freeman conference in LA. And you don't remember that. It was either 2004, 5, or 6, sometimes around there. And what I remember is that Patricia, I didn't know her. There was a woman who is sort of in the center, in the lobby of a group, a big group of people, and they were yakking like crazy. Well, I was a San Francisco resident, but I wasn't an NSA person then. And I was chatting with somebody else on the periphery of this circle who was not from San Francisco, or yeah, he was from LA, and chatting. And he said, "Oh, you're from San Francisco area. You must know this group." And I said, "No, who is that?" He said, "You don't know the famous Patricia Fripp." And I said, "No, I don't think so." And well, anyway, he introduced us briefly, and she said, "Well, are you not a member of, you're a speaker and you're not a member of National Speakers Association?" So that's when I started attending some meetings, and it was all because of Miss Fripp. So thank you and happy birthday.
Thanks, Candy. Michael Haig.
Yes. Were you reminded of me? Because I was just about to raise my hand after Candy said that, because Patricia will remember this, and some of you heard the story, but the first time I ever met Patricia, I was going to my first ever chapter meeting of NSA. I didn't know anything about the organization. I just had this idea, maybe I should talk to corporate people about this. So I went in and just Kismet said, she happened to be the guest speaker. I had no idea who Patricia was either. So I went into the room and she was talking about being a speaker and the different elements your presentation should have. And she kept saying David Freeman, which is where Candy apparently met her. David Freeman calls this part of the story the seduction scene. And then a little later, she said, David Freeman says this. And then finally, David Freeman says this. And in a moment of chutzpah I never have shown since, I raised my hand and said to Patricia, how come you keep quoting my competitor and you don't say anything about me? And she said, well, who the heck are you? So I told her about my work in Hollywood, and during the break we started chatting, and I said, well, I'm going to be in the Bay Area soon. Do you want to come see me talk about romantic comedies? She said, sure. And at that moment we became friends, and that was sometime shortly after, apparently, you saw David Freeman in San Francisco. So I should thank that guy who I haven't liked ever since, but it was because of him that you and I became friends. So thank you, Patricia. Happy birthday.
Great hat, Michael.
Thank you.
You love it, Michael. I'll borrow it. Thank you.
Christine Torrington.
Hi there. Am I muted? No. Good morning, Patricia. It's because of you and how you changed my life that I am here, because I came and heard you the first time you spoke to the Golden Gate Breakfast Club, which I had never heard of. You became the first woman member and I became the second. And my life has never been the same. I've come to every meeting in all these past years that I possibly could come to. And it's been absolutely life-changing. And furthermore, one of my most special things that I got to do in my many years of becoming a professional photographer was to take a picture of you in front of this huge billboard in the city when you were spearheading a campaign, to remind me of what, if it was leukemia or something of that sort. But you were absolutely #1 woman at that time. And I think you still are in many ways in San Francisco. And thank you for changing my life by bringing me here. It's always been a privilege.
Thank you, Christine. Who else do we have here? Let's see, we've got Michael
I
Haig.
think Gary Pioris had his hand up, and Claudette, I see.
Thank you. Gary, why don't you go next, and then followed by Claudette.
The scary thing about this hat, Patricia, is I'm starting to really like it. And I may wear this one forever from now on. I had the great honor, the scary honor. No, it wasn't great. It was the scary honor of having my hair cut in front of an audience. And Patricia, what audience was that? It was
that was the Continental Breakfast Club, the women's group.
Oh, that was
Sister Club, yeah.
And the frightening thing that I recall about that was the quickness with which I said yes. And for you to do that to me. The other part was me sitting in front of that audience with you cutting my hair, and I had nothing to say, nothing to do with that, just sit there and you cutting my hair and doing that presentation. What a great time that was. And I have this feeling that it's you who says not another year has passed, but boy, did I learn a lot last year that I'm going to carry on this year. Happy birthday.
All right, thanks, Gary. Who's next?
I think I am.
That's right, Claudette. You're next.
So I wish I could be funny. I'm not really a funny person, but I would like to tell 2 quick stories. I started taking some classes in public speaking, and it was from people who had won first place in Toastmasters internationally. And everybody kept mentioning Patricia Fripp. Well, I first heard, I'd never heard of her, right? At first, I pictured her as a very impressive lady. The more I heard about her, the taller she got, the bigger she got. By the time I was going to finally meet her at one of these classes, because she was going to co-teach it, I was expecting somebody about 350 pounds, 7 feet tall. I'm sitting there with my coffee waiting, and somebody asked me, what my name was, or I can't remember what she said. I turn around to see this diminutive little lady who was Patricia Fripp. So instant change of who she was. But the more she spoke, the bigger she got again. The other thing I would like to tell you, because I, like Candy, wanted to tell you more about the impact she's had. She's a very authentic person. She's a real lady and a real authentic person. And I was going to be in a contest, and so I wanted her to coach me. And I figured out if she made so much a day, how much would it be for an hour? So I sent her an email and I said, could you meet with me for half an hour or an hour? She sent an email back. I don't even know if she remembered me from the class. And she said, well, I usually teach executives, and she went into that. And so I sent an email back that said, well, I hope someday that I'll be a caliber of a person that you can train. She must have thought that she had insulted me. I don't think you can send an email back that fast. She sent an email back and she said, no, I'm just trying to save you some money. So I thanked her. And then I went to an NSA meeting, and she was the speaker. And at the end, as she was packing up, I went in and I said, could you just listen to my speech for 15 minutes? And she said, yes, let me finish packing up. She is so authentic that when she gets involved in a task, she really gets involved. 2 hours and 15 minutes later, she let me go with a whole bunch of hints that actually took me to Kuala Lumpur as one of the top 90 people in the world. But she never got paid for any of that. She just is so authentic and so giving that, to me, she's a real queen. Happy birthday, Patricia.
Thank you, Claudette. And I got to remind you guys, we're on the clock, so we want to try and keep it to 76 seconds, around about there. Okay.
Don't forget Heg Keller, Mr. President. Heg Keller.
I was going to move on to Heg Harris is here. So Heg, we'd love to have your comments.
Can you hear me?
I hear you fine.
Good. I may be the one that knows Patricia the longest. I was a gun lawyer. I think I met Patricia in 1970, 69 and 1970. And never met a more delightful person. All these years, Patricia, happy birthday. I missed our luncheons the last few years. She had a book that she gave me. I'll hold it up. It's one of the first stand up, speak out and win, it says. She said, as a lawyer, maybe this book would help me. I did that in court. I stood up. I spoke out. The judge told me to sit down. But I still won. Your advice was great then, and you're as pretty and advising today. Happy birthday, dear. Happy birthday.
That is brilliant. And that book is probably just as applicable today as it ever was.
Well, she had 3 of them. I have them all. Patricia Fripp, make it so you don't have to fake it. And of course, the one of her great stance, her on the cover, get what you want. Patricia, you've gotten what you want, dear. You deserve it.
Thank you, Heg.
Thank you for letting me be part of this.
Marilyn, you're up next.
Great. I am so thrilled to just be amongst all the people who love and adore Miss Patricia Fripp. And much to my benefit, she loves to go to shows. And living in Las Vegas, when she comes to town at her second home, we love to just go and have a nice dinner and just see the shows of Las Vegas. So even though the shows are closed right now, Fripp, I can't wait for you to come back so we can continue dating, because I think I date you more than I date my own husband. So thank you for all the great times. Looking forward to more, and happy, happy birthday, Miss Fripp. I love you.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Marilyn. Brian Head, you're up next.
I've just suddenly remembered that I was there when Patricia was celebrating her 50th birthday. It was in Dallas at a conference. It was a TPN conference. And I remember her saying, I'm 50 today, and slapping her thigh. I always remember that. And I'd just like to thank Patricia Fripp. In 2017, it was at a Lady and the Champs conference in Las Vegas. And I was up for a promotion at the time, and I recorded on my phone the comments that she gave me, and I used those in my interview. And I was successful. So she's had a big influence on me over the years, and I'd certainly like to wish her all the very best today. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you, Brian. Janice Litvin, and then Derek Arden.
I could go on and on about the influence Patricia Fripp has had on my life. Back in 1983, when Patricia was the national president, we hosted the NSA conference in San Francisco at the Mark Hopkins, I believe. And I led pre-Zoom, but I led aerobics classes at 6:30 in the morning, and used to attend Continental Breakfast Club and Women Entrepreneurs. Back then I was a software trainer, and I thought, I'll never be able to speak motivationally on a stage ever. And then fast forward to approximately 2016, when she did hot seating at the NSA Northern California meeting, and I would see her constructively critique speech openings. And I thought, I'll never be able to get up there and be hot seated. And then finally, a year or two later, I had the nerve to be hot seated and had wonderful constructive feedback. And of course, the invitation to speak to my wonderful friends at Golden Gate Breakfast Club on Valentine's Day 2018 to help you fall in love with fitness, all due to Patricia Fripp. I cannot thank you enough, and you got me to put on a hat today. Thank you.
That's fantastic. I like your hat. And Derek Arden, you're up next, followed by Gary McKenzie.
Thanks, Craig. Greetings from London. Who would have thought that when I went to the Indianapolis NSA meeting in 2012, and I asked Patricia Fripp if she would come over to the UK and speak at our conference, and she said, when I come to the UK, I go to see Robert Fripp and I go on holiday. So I noticed a chink in her armor, and I said, how can I persuade you to come? And she said, every time I come to the UK, you have to be my chauffeur, pick me up at Heathrow and drive me to Dorset. And I said, well, if that's all the demand there is, that's agreed. So who would have thought that I was now Patricia Fripp's chauffeur for life when she comes to the UK? And who would have thought, and I was at Tower Bridge yesterday, because London's opened up, and who would have thought that Patricia Fripp and I would be on a cable car 4 years later, going across the Thames and on a riverboat, zooming up the Thames. So thanks for your friendship, Patricia, and I'll have my recording machine when you're in my car, because your mentoring is just what I want.
So does that mean the next time I'm in Guilford, you're going to act as my chauffeur too?
Well, it depends what your pricing is. Right? We can talk about that. Everything's negotiable.
Oh no. Gary McKenzie.
Thank you, Craig. Two really quick stories. Number one, it's in Las Vegas at the attending Lady and the Champs. I knew Patricia only from her stage presence. She came up to me and said, Gary, don't you live in Northern California? I said, yes. Said, you should join the National Speakers Association. She walked away rapidly. I'd never heard of the National Speakers Association. So I Googled it, found out there's a chapter in San Francisco. I called the president of the chapter to find out about joining. And I thought, well, it's like any organization, you write a check and you're in. The person said, well, Gary, it's not that simple. Did you have to meet some criteria now? How did you happen to hear about the organization? I said, well, you may know her, Patricia Fripp, and she said, you're in. That's all I had to do, magic word. Oh, and the other one, I wanted my son to meet Miss Fripp. They were in the NSA conference. I saw her at a distance, and my son with me, and I motioned to her to come over. She came over quickly. I said, Patricia, I'd like to have you meet my son. She looked at him and said, "Did your father tell you about the weekend we spent together in Las Vegas?" And she was gone. And he looked at me and said, "Dad." Back to you, Craig.
Oh, that is a great story. Wow. Linda Shively.
Well, it was a great opportunity to pull out a hat. And I wanted to just say every time that I'm in Patricia's presence, I learn something. And one story that relates to this club is we were walking from the parking garage to the Breakfast Club, and she gave me the opening line for a speech. And I've been able to use that opening line and just, hey, here's an opening line, you can try this. And it was fabulous. So I always love learning, being in your presence. You have this amazing quality about you that is unmistakable. And I remember telling a friend, you need to see Patricia Fripp. She's going to be speaking. And he'd watched a video that you had done. And he's like, well, I don't know. I'm not sure. And I said, come, you need to see her. He went and he's like, what? That woman's amazing. I said, I know, I told you. And then it continues. So thank you for being who you are. I'm grateful to be here to celebrate you.
Thank you, Linda. I'm trying to look at all the screens. So if somebody wants to say something, I see Betty's has her hand up, and then Michael Milstein. So Betty?
Many years ago, when I was president, or even around that time of the state for Women's Council of Realtors, this dynamic speaker came and presented us with her wisdom. And that was Patricia Fripp. And it was amazing. Little did I know that many years.
I think we lost Betty.
You are such an amazing part of, and I thank you for all of the wisdom and the pearls that you share with everybody. But this was so long ago, and you were at that point probably president of the National Speakers Association. So thank you. It's an honor. And happy birthday, girl. Celebrate all year.
All right, thank you, Betty. And who do we have next? And Betty, who is after you?
Mike Milstein.
Oh, Mike.
Yeah, Mike, please. You look rather dapper in your hat too, by the way, Mike. You got it. You're muted. Well, Mike's working his stuff out. I was at the mayor's office last week, and I was trying to get in to see the mayor. And they said, well, who are you and what's your business here? I said, well, I was referred by Patricia Fripp. And then they rolled out the red carpet. So that's the power of a name.
Okay, I just unmuted myself. I was a client of Patricia's back when she was a barber, and she gave a great haircut. But what got me coming back was her great personality and great stories. So Patricia, it's a pleasure to see you again, and happy birthday.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Michael. Who else do we have here?
I'm just going to say.
Please do.
Okay, I just want you all to know I went from my fascinator, which is a hat that Patricia loves, to wearing this hat, and I hope Robert Fripp sees this. My King Crimson cap, for which has attracted people to me that I normally wouldn't have met in some very interesting places. And Patricia, thanks to you sharing your brother with me, as I've said many times, if it were for only my brothers, I'd meet no one, but because of your brother, I've met many young men.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you. All right, Tana, I see your hand up. And then, yeah, Elaine, why don't you go after Tana?
Happy birthday, Patricia.
I'm very honored to be here because of Patricia, and I take Patricia wherever I go because I met her at the Speakers Academy, Northern Cal, National Speakers Association, and I got as many CDs as possible of her, and I keep in my car and I listen over and over again, and it's helping me. And I named my workshop HOPE because of her advice, and I am giving another workshop next week to the authors. So thank you. You are amazing. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Tana. And Elaine?
Happy birthday, Fripp. I am proud to be a Frippette and to celebrate, and you got me up in the morning to wear a funny hat. You should be proud. I am proud to join in on the fun with you. And just words of wisdom that come to me right now: when someone you know and admire and respect tells you what to do, you do it. So happy birthday. Many more.
By the way, I think it's a common theme for all of us. Patricia's like the E.F. Hutton of our group. When Patricia speaks, we listen. So thanks for all the good advice, Patricia. Who else has something that they'd like to share? I don't see any of their hands right now. I see the Pitch Freak has his hand up, and I know Brian Wagner always has something to share. Antonio?
Well, I just want to say thank you for Patricia, for all of your inspiration, for being a tremendous mentor here. Any skills that I have, and I know they are growing on a regular basis, are due to you and the confidence and the joie de vivre and all those other fancy French words that I can apply to thank you for helping me be more effective at speaking here. And I owe this success to you. So thank you so very much for setting such a great example, not only as a speaker, but as a human being. Thank you, dear.
All right. Thanks, Antonio. And Brian Wagner.
Patricia, I love you from the bottom of my heart. And I can't tell you what an impact you've had on my life. It's been phenomenal. And I can't believe you have made such an impact on everyone else's life here as well. It's overwhelming, and I'm just so grateful that I met you 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm so grateful that you actually came on and allowed me to drive you, even though I only have half one good eye. But you also provided me with humor that you inflected into me with calling me Mr. Wink and then Mrs. Wink with my wife. So both of us will be in Vegas in July for the NSA conference. Hopefully I get to introduce her to you, because I've told her so much about you, and it'll be like that 350-pound person that you walk up. It's like, well, it'll be different, but I'm just so thankful for you and for all you've done. So I appreciate that. Wow, that was hard.
Thanks, Brian. That was awesome. All right, who else do we have here? Michael, Sarah, you haven't said anything.
Thanks, Craig, for the opportunity. You know, Patricia, it was a keynote at the Toastmaster conference that you drew me in, and then I became a groupie, and I followed you everywhere you presented for probably a few months after that. And I remember you saying, Michael, I see you more than some of my best friends. And I got the hint, Fripp. But you're the one that got me into Golden Gate Breakfast Club, and you're the one that got me into NSA NC. So thank you very, very much. And you are an inspiration and an influencer and a connector. So thank you for everything you do. You are awesome. And happy birthday. You don't look an age over 21.
That's the first lie you've told.
Oh, is my nose getting longer?
Yes. And your program last week was incredible.
Thank you.
Mr. President, this is very wonderful and very embarrassing. Although I've loved every second.
Did you have it? Did you have any idea that we were planning something along these lines?
No, with my guests, I say, oh, it's always fun when we hear from our longtime members. I had no idea.
That's amazing.
Can I jump in? Patricia, you know how I feel about giving credit where credit is due. So I am again going to give credit. This idea was Jim Prost's, and his idea, the amount of time he's worked, but also Craig and Tony participated. There were 4 of us. It was very secret. And it was Jim's idea to invite your dear brother. And he knew he had to sign on at 8:10 Pacific time, not 8:09. But having your brother here was Jim's idea. And I am just thrilled because I know that's the gift for your birthday.
Well, certainly anytime I see brother is a great treat, and knowing how busy he is. And that was wonderful. I don't know if everybody knows quite how special it is. Brother did speak for the Breakfast Club one time. And I said, brother, would you like to speak at the Breakfast Club? No. well, how about if I speak and you tell a story about Uncle Bill? Oh, I can do that. Well, how about, and that ended up with one of our classic speeches, Everything Begins with a Love Story, which of course is why the Fripp kids are around, because our parents had a love story. And all right, Mr. President, I now thank you and thank brother and everyone for getting up, being so sweet and wearing your fancy hats.
It was our pleasure. What a fun meeting. Well, at this time, why don't we go ahead? I am going to end the recording. And then what we can do is we'll leave the room open for a little bit if you'd like to, chat a little bit, or if you have some further questions. Patricia, can you stick around for a little bit, or do you have to run? All right.
No, my next appointment is with Derek Arden.
Oh, okay. We can cut into his time then if we need to. Okay. I'm going to end the recording.